Well, hey folks, it's your old pal, King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. I would normally wait until I get a copy of the print version of one of my books after I put them out before I make a more fuller review kind of video for it. But since there's only a few weeks to go until Valentine's Day, and those of you who might be inclined to check it out as a Valentine's gift, I feel I should go ahead and say a few, more detailed things about Lady Spy Detective, which I just put out on Amazon, and Drive Through RPG just over this last weekend. The whole point behind it was basically, as its conception, it's a role-playing game for a game master who has a spouse or girlfriend or some other appropriate partner that they would like to run a solo game for. That's not like just some smarmy excuse to try to get in their pants, but is actually presenting them a serious, role-playing game that they would like. That's intentionally try to tailor to appeal to female sensibilities. I very much use my wife to kind of gauge level of interest in the various concepts that are presented in the book. It uses the rule system I use in most of my games, so it's pretty simple and straightforward. Character creation's easy. The rule system's really easy to get your head around. It's nothing terribly like out there. It's a little like somewhat innovative, I guess you could say, in the fact that like I do make the characters, sanity and morale kind of more equal to their like overall health levels in terms of like characters' safety and the risk of losing your character and all that kind of stuff. So social situations are suddenly more tense in the game. It's not just only fisticuffs handicap combat kind of stuff. That provides that kind of tension that role-playing games do kind of rely upon. Now, getting into a bad argument with somebody who's like particularly skilled in the right skills and has a really high mind or a spirit attribute could damage your character's confidence and or break down their grasp on reality, kind of a thing. But Lady Spy Detective, the concept is basically since it's a solo game, and it's about characters who are 1950s pulp feminist type spy detective characters, mostly filtered through the idea that they're all playing agents for one various government or another. I have a list of 10 ones that I list out, and it's really easy to like kind of make up your own if you want to use different countries. I very intentionally left England out because fuck you, you've had plenty of James Bond books and movies, so I don't think we need any more like protagonists as English super spies anyway. I do include America and Russia because since it's set in the 50s, how do you not have those two involved? And then kind of an oddball smattering of different countries, kind of give you a nice global distribution. Cuba, Argentina, Iran, stuff like that. Japan's in there, and little kind of sections on like the various kinds of angles that most of their missions that they give their agents, during this fictionalized 1950s period. Characters, after you decide your attributes and all that kind of stuff, in order to tree out your skills, first you'll just basically decide what flag the character operates under, which is which government, their country that they are from, government that they work for, all that kind of stuff. And under each of the listed flags, it'll give options of different types of agencies that those governments support. So you can choose one of those kinds of agencies, which gives you like access to various skill packages that you can place points into. Then after that, you can choose a cover occupation, which is basically like the front they put on while trying to pretend to be a civilian or whatever it is they're doing. Most of them selected to kind of like fit in with the idea of people like occupations that would be useful for someone who's trying to do espionage work kind of stuff or travel around a lot and all that kind of thing. Also, once again, to an eye of like making sure that like women in particular who are being asked to play the game might find a lot of these things interesting to play. As I said, it's kind of like 1950s pulp feminism because they're like they're playing strong, capable women working as like secret agents, but it is set in the 50s, so it's still kind of a Mad Men kind of environment. It's not intended so that as the DM you can like browbeat your loved one with like a bunch of like past sexism and make them feel bad. The idea is that it gives them an opportunity to role play through like overcoming all that kind of stuff. Uh, like any good role playing game, if you really want the players to be invested in it, you should be trying to make a point of giving them opportunities to do the sorts of stuff that in stories they would like to do. So you need a. I feel there should be some effort put into like addressing the psychology of various different kinds of people in order to be able to present them a game that they find engaging. Well, also that the game master can still also have fun on their side. Uh, so the setup is like they're making spy characters, but in terms of what kind of adventures they're going on, in much the same way that like D&D could almost be run anyway if you just only are using the character creation, but it's the fact that like the whole structure and the way adventure design has always been presented in Dungeons and Dragons. It's always a like, we're going to go to this cave to get this treasure, and we're going to fight all these things to get through the cave. Well, the kind of built-in kind of like intended premise is that whether or not for either going through their day-to-day missions, for their agency, or whether or not it's something they stumble across because their cover occupation, or because they are actively trying to do detective kind of work. They're the adventure hook for most like scenarios that you should be trying to come up with this game is that they get involved in some sort of mystery, whether it's murder mystery or big theft or conspiracy. There's a wealth of classic black and white movies to go to for reference for all sorts of ideas or to come up with on your own. And like I said, some of them could easily be triggered, like, say that your agent's being sent to go meet up with a contact, but you get there and they're killed and cops are already involved. Because the thing that should hopefully be tried to create is you want to create a tension between the lady spy detective wanting to solve this mystery, but not blowing her cover while she's doing it, kind of a thing. She still wants to get the secret files while also figuring out who killed so-and-so, and then manage to get back to her people and deliver the stuff, and without the local NYPD figuring it out who she actually is, or any of that kind of stuff, or other agents from other governments that are also tied in to all this. I mean, figuring out who killed the contact is probably going to lead into more international spy mystery and mayhem, as it should. But because of the fact that the character creation there is kind of a lot of variety in what kind of agents for what kinds of agencies, and also mixed in with the different kinds of cover occupations, it's a little hard to just entirely just pre-write generic adventures for. This is very much an opportunity for game masters to craft a campaign that's very personalized to the choices of your one player, and because it's designed to be something that you play with your spouse or your girlfriend, it gives you a chance to like focus in on like what exactly they're looking for in the game, which is informed by the options that they have chosen. If they're wanting to play someone from an intel agency or someone from a law enforcement agency, that gives you very kind of a different idea of what kind of mission profiles they're going on. The choice of occupation that they choose for the character gives you a kind of a different idea of what kind of like lifestyle they're expecting to live in this world. And so there's a lot of guidelines for how to make NPCs, but no, there's not a lot of specifically listed out NPCs for the game yet. I am working on a source book to go with it that's going to basically provide a bunch of like generic mission profiles, the stuff that the agency would hand out, just so you have some templates to run off for the various different types of agencies and like specific kinds of missions they might go on. Also use that as a way to start introducing some of the other active espionage agencies of the world that weren't discussed in the player character section of the main book. Kind of start to plop them into the setting and give you ideas for what to use them for. There is a little bit of sci-fi psychic hijinks in the setting if you want it. It's very much stated that it's optional if you don't want to deal with characters having psychic powers or any of the weird sci-tech kind of stuff from the setting. You can ignore it, but it is there if that's what your player wants to do with it. And also it was very intentionally written so it could be compatible with materials from Ghost of the Shadow Zone and its source books if you want to bring in kind of a occult conspiracy supernatural horror story kind of angle. You know, it's very open-ended as to like how you want to use it and shape it. So you know, it's just the basic. Here's the creative tools you need, so that she has an interesting, simple to use but dynamic character that's got a gives her a lot of choices to mull over. And then after you get that information, you know, it gives you the basic tools you need to figure out what you want her to, you know, experience as she's playing in the world of Lady Spy Detective. So I'll leave some links in the thingamabobbers, and so you like, you know, just go like that on a keyboard. I'm sure something good will happen. And until next time, stay waspinated.